Opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you guys on a Monday morning, which means it's time to give you what mattered most from the NFL slate that we saw on Sunday. Full transparency, due to schedules, we are currently recording this podcast as Eagles Cowboys are about to kick off. So maybe near the end of the podcast, Connor, we can give some halftime takes of Eagles Dallas, depending on how close the game is. But other than that, man, Chiefs Bills. Your Jets got a massive win in Green Bay, my guy. You got to be flying high.
It was wild. It was. I said this on the Badlands pod. This is the thing that you would laugh at, Trevor. Like, it was funny for the first time in as long as it's been so long since I can remember this. It felt like everybody was watching the Jets Packers. Like, usually the Jets game is like they get the lowest priority broadcast booth. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching. Nobody in like the national media or just all the great Twitter personalities. This was the one where I was like, wow, everybody's watching Jets Packers right now, especially when they went up 2 touchdowns.
These Jets.
Yeah, not these Jets.
These Jets
are you dumping all your stock? Are you dumping
what?
Are you dumping all your stock? Yeah, you're holding now. You're holding now because of that performance. You're not selling it all.
Oh, I'm dumping this bad boy the second the market opened. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I got to debate. We're going to get to the Thursday show this week, and we'll come to a conclusion of whether or not it's continue to buy, continue to hold, or continue to sell on your New York Jets. Before we get to the Jets, though, I do want to start things out with the Bills and the Chiefs, because that was,
of course.
I feel like the topic that everybody's going to talk about is the one that you and I can't wait to talk about, so much so that we just start talking about the game before we even hit record on the podcast. So we always try to not do the pod before the pod. And I want to dive in to Bills Chiefs first. Bills, huge road win in Kansas City, 24-20. Josh Allen was nothing short of absolutely spectacular in this game. It felt like at times he was willing this offense to win. Not that he was truly doing it alone. The Bills are a good football team. But what separates this Bills team from, I would say, literally any other team in the NFL other than the Kansas City Chiefs is that they have that dude at quarterback. I know it's a massive dub, but he showed up when you needed it most. These two teams, one of them is going to win the Super Bowl, Connor. I know it's an obvious take, but I have to say it after what we watched yet again. One of these teams is going to win the Super Bowl. What'd you think about this one as you watched it?
I think what matters most is that the Bills now are mentally over the hump of, can we get past these guys? And
it's huge.
I think they're a competent team. I think they're led by a competent staff. I think the quarterback is extremely confident because he can just do things that most quarterbacks and most athletes in this world can't. But I think when you mentally have digested that you've done it, it changes your entire, personality going into this game when they inevitably meet in the AFC Championship. And my honorable mention, what matters most is, this is why you go give Von Miller the contract you did.
100%.
You look at what the Bills have done, right? And you look at where the Chiefs are. The Chiefs have won a Super Bowl, and the Chiefs are maybe maxed out in a lot of ways cap-wise. The Bills were able to keep stacking the deck and go get a gigantic piece because of how they went out against the Chiefs last year to try to get over the hump, and just what Von did in this game and what Von will do in really, really big games is worth every single penny. And, credit to the Bills. I thought the Chiefs, truthfully, I thought the Chiefs would win this game, and I didn't think that would take away anything from the Bills and what they can do in the postseason. But going on the road, the fact that the Chiefs, have their number recently, but still a huge credit to the Bills and just how talented they are and how ready they are to really make a true Super Bowl run this year.
It is funny. You say that you thought the Chiefs were going to win this game. What we were talking about right before we hit record was after the Bills scored, my first reaction was, oh, no.
Too much time, again.
Oh, no, Buffalo. Because it was more than, 13 seconds that it was in the playoffs that Mahomes was able to get into field goal range. And he had more time, and he would have needed to go down and get a touchdown instead of a field goal. So it was a little bit different of a situation. But I genuinely felt, and I think that everybody in the world probably felt, oh, no, here it comes again. Here comes the Chiefs. Here comes Patrick Mahomes. And, my one thing that mattered most, I think, from this game is something that you touched on a little bit. And I guess it is a little bit to echo what you said there, getting the monkey off your back mentally when it comes to beating the best. And I understand that the Kansas City Chiefs did not win the Super Bowl last year. But is it weird to say that it feels like the Chiefs almost should win it every year since 2018? I mean, every single year we have watched this team, even in the years that they don't win, and they haven't won since then. I think to myself, well, Kansas City probably should have won this year. It's just where they are. It's just how that team is constructed. And, I go back to college football as well, because myself, I'm sure, Connor, you were this way. I'm sure everybody else in America was like this. Watching Tennessee beat Alabama this past weekend, there is something about Alabama that I think is similar in some ways to the Chiefs. I agree. I think this exists not a little bit. I think it definitely exists more in college football than it does in the NFL. When you go up against Alabama, it's not just that physical battle and even the execution and running as fast as you can, playing as hard as you can, all of that. There is a mental aspect to playing Alabama where Tennessee almost lost that mental game. How many times have we seen this over the Nick Saban era where you look at a matchup and you go, this team could have beat Alabama. Mm-hmm. Unit to unit, player to player, they could have hung with this team. They could have beat this team. And what happens almost every time, Connor, at the end of the game, when the clock hits 0, Alabama's the one with more points.
They find a way.
And there are very few teams, I think, since Nick Saban has really established that dominance in Alabama, that have been able to get over that mental Goliath that you face when you know you're going up against those guys. I don't think the Bills are afraid of anybody. This is a team that certainly takes on the identity of their head coach, and I don't think Sean McDermott's afraid of anybody. But there is still, in the back of your head, when you play the Chiefs, you go, yeah, but it's the Chiefs. And if you let that even just fester at all for a second, it can sometimes be the difference between a win and a loss. And it's those championship caliber kind of teams that don't let those kinds of things creep in. And my biggest, to bring this all back to it, what mattered most is that the Bills are certainly showing they're not afraid. And moving forward, when they play this team in the AFC Championship game, there's going to be no, can they get over the hump? Can they beat the Chiefs? Are they good enough? Will they ever?
Put it to bed.
Window, we can put it to bed. And that is where we are with these teams. And I think that that's kind of where the Chiefs were going in the NFL, towards that Alabama arc. I guess it was a little bit like that with the Patriots as well. Patriots probably the closest thing to Alabama that we've seen in the NFL. And I think that the Buffalo Bills really, really, really did a lot more than just get a win in the win column this week. I think it's something that's going to carry with them throughout the season and when these teams eventually face off in the playoffs again.
How hot is the AFC East right now? Scorcher. Just an absolute scorcher.
It is indeed. By the way, Von Miller, these are initial stats that we have in PFF's database. You mentioned this is why you pay him game. 8 pressures, 7 hurries, 2 sacks, over 25% pass rush win percentage. Dude just went off.
And I think he had the pressure on Mahomes' game-ending interception.
Yes. Yeah. Against a double team. A double team. He split a double team to get in Mahomes' face to force that throw.
So
amazing.
There you go.
Really amazing. What a fantastic game. I can't wait to see that one again in January. And like I said at the top, man, I think one of these teams are winning the Super Bowl, and it's going to be a lot of fun to sit back and see which one executes the best. What's the next game you want to get to that mattered most here?
Why don't we get into the Bucs and Steelers, honestly? Because
why don't we bring it up? Cool. Sure. Yeah. Let's just do it.
We're ripping the Band-Aid off.
Let's get it all out on the table, baby. What are we doing?
The reason I went to this game was because I really, truly, I haven't texted you all day about it. I have done very little Twittering about it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a game I saw enough of, but I really, really need the Trevor, what the hell, and then the what the matters most. So this is your floor, my friend.
Yeah, not a great result, to say the least. Buccaneers fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh by a score of 20-18. There's no way around it. I tweeted this after the game. I said this is an embarrassing loss, and it is hopefully a reality check game for the Buccaneers. And Todd Bowles got up to the podium in the post-game presser and said, there are still people in this organization who are living off the Super Bowl that we won 2 years ago. That's what Todd Bowles said. There are people who are living off of that. I'm not going to sit here and name players' names because I'm not around the team. I would not be able to say that with full confidence who it is. I can't tell that just by how people play on Sunday. I really can't. It goes a lot deeper than that. It goes into preparation. It goes into meetings. It goes into everything. But there is without a doubt that there are some star players on this team who are not playing the way that they need to. Vita Vea, Devin White, the offensive line, Leonard Fournette, like the Bucs secondary, which was just, dude, in the second half alone, Tampa gave up a 3rd and 11, a 3rd and 13, a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 15.
I saw
in the
that.
second half alone.
Dude.
If they would have stopped one of those, the game's probably different. If they would have stopped one of those, the game is probably different, and Tampa probably ends up getting at least a field goal to win that game by 1 point. But they don't. They didn't stop any of them. The defense is not where it needs to be. The pass rush is terrible. Somehow the run defense is bad. Somehow the secondary is bad. They're not able to generate pressure no matter what they do. Byron Leftwich does not have a good handle on when to call what plays. He's trying to stay balanced. It's not working. They're calling. Dude, the Bucs had 1st and goal after a penalty at the 9-yard line. 1st and goal. And they just ran the ball. After Leonard Fournette was averaging about 3 yards a carry, if not less, at that point in the game. Your interior offensive line to that point was getting absolutely manhandled by the Chiefs' defensive line, and you decide to waste a down on a 1st and goal situation in the red zone by running the ball. What's the best case scenario that happens there? It's 2nd and goal at the 7? How is that any different? It's mind-numbing to me. I know I'm going off on a rant right now, but it is wild to see because – look, I tweeted after the game that, hey, as wild as it is and as bad as the Bucs are right now, the playoffs are still in contention. The NFC stinks. They could very much still win their own division. They could get into the playoffs even as a wild card. That's still a reality. But for this team to be where they are, for the execution to be as bad as it is, for them to get as manhandled as it felt like they got in almost every level of offense and defense, wild to me. Luke Gadecki at left guard was an absolute liability against Cam Hayward. He had his absolute way with him. Donovan Smith was struggling against Alex Highsmith. This team didn't even have TJ Watt. What's the record of how many games they've lost when they didn't have TJ Watt? Well, give them another win in the win column. It might be their first. So, bad Steelers team. Way to go, Mitch Trubisky, to come in there, get the dub at the end. Steelers played their ass off for as much as guys were hurt. They had a lot of starters, especially in the secondary, that were out in this game. Kenny Pickett goes out with a concussion. You hope that he's okay. Mitch comes in, finishes it off, gets the win. But the bigger story, no doubt about it, is this Bucs team was a team that had division title and potential Super Bowl aspirations, and they are nowhere close to that second one. Nowhere close. I don't know where the help comes from. I don't know how it gets better. They're not in a good place right now. So there you go. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
No, it was great. It really was. And that's why I wanted you to take the floor. And they obviously have the talent and the quarterback and all of those things to figure this thing out and get right and take care of business and, make this loss barely a blip on the radar. But it was stunning. It was honestly stunning, the circumstances.
Steelers are bad. The
Steelers are bad, and good for them. For pulling off a huge upset at home and, never rule out a Mike Tomlin team ever. This is what they can always do. It's really nuts.
Ain't that the truth?
It's nuts. I just, the one thing, Trevor, that I found interesting that, the internet, of course, was talking about, but I really did find it interesting. The image of Brady screaming at his line, whatever. Mm-hmm. But, the whole, you go to a wedding this weekend, there's no walkthrough Saturday. You fly private, apparently, to Pittsburgh for the game. It's just not a good look. I don't know. I don't care that you're Tom Brady. You know what I mean? I
know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But I will, as a little bit of a counterpoint to that, because you never want one person to be above the team, right? I think that is something that matters. But Tom Brady is probably if not at the bottom of the list, very close to the bottom of the list.
That's a good point.
Of people to blame for this game.
Yep.
This dude was throwing dimes to people all day. And he has been for the last couple of weeks. And people harp on him because he's not perfect. But guys, if we start pointing the finger at Tom Brady for the reasons why this Bucs team isn't good, you're pointing in the wrong direction. So you bringing that up, it's totally justified, because certainly people who haven't watched every snap of the Bucs, which I have, and people who aren't ingrained in it fully would kind of look at that. And I'd do the same thing. I'd be like, not a great. I mean, like, there's been the rumors have been swirling around the team all off season, and now you're going to a wedding, and it's like, if that wasn't already a distraction, like, Tom Brady is definitely causing some unnecessary distraction to this team. But he's also one of the only few that suits up every Sunday and does his job to an elite level. So it's not a Brady issue. Coaching staff's in trouble. I think Todd Bowles is in trouble right now. The way that they've got those guys playing is just not great. Not great. Can we move on?
Yeah,
let's talk about something happier. Can we talk about the Jets win? Can we talk about the Jets
win?
Come
Sure,
on.
Jets win.
The Jets currently in a playoff spot, I may add. Sitting there at 4-2, 3-0 with Zach Wilson back. How is it, my friend? Tell me how it is.
It's, still kind of hard to process. I think that because it's the way the season started, where like Robert Saleh had to go on the full defense about, keeping receipts and, which, by the way, clearly a genius, because the team has just been full throttle since that whole press conference. But the Jets, to me, what's most important right now is that they are finally a tough football team. And what I mean by that is they've won 3 games on the road. They have won in Cleveland. They have won in Pittsburgh. And they have won in Green Bay. That is not easy to do. No. And the thing that travels with the Jets is that they will run the football with Breece Hall and Michael Carter. And what was once a patchwork offensive line starting to find their footing a little bit. Dwayne Brown looks really good at left tackle. AVT's filling in at right tackle until George Fant or Max Mitchell can find their way back. Laken Tomlinson at left guard, Connor McGovern at center, and Nate Herbig, a player that did not get tendered by the Eagles, doing a good job starting at right guard.
Big Nate.
The tight ends are involved. Breece Hall and Sauce Gardner look incredible. They look like they're 8-year All-Pros at this point. And the Jets being able to play good defense, attacking defense, and running the football makes them a tough out every week, because that travels, it goes places, where Zach Wilson didn't really need to even do anything in this game. He really didn't. He completed 10 passes, didn't turn the ball over, had 1 deep throw to Corey Davis. That was it. That was really his entire day. And the honorable mention, what matters most, is that Quinnen Williams is just a complete superstar. And that wasn't always the case for Q his first couple of years in the league. He didn't have any counterparts around him that were very good. Sometimes the defensive scheme didn't always match how good of an attacking player he can be. His second year under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich, and with talent around him like Carl Lawson and John Franklin Myers, Quinnen Williams is a total superstar against the run and as a pass rusher. And everything people thought, a lot of people had him as the top player in that draft class, and he is really turning the corner of being that level of player this year.
Breece Hall, obviously we've got the Eagles game coming up, so we don't have the Eagles stats, the Cowboys stats, or the Broncos and the Chargers, but top 15 in rushing yards, top 20 in yards per attempt. I mean, he's playing well, man. You mentioned they're leaning on him, but he is continuing to deliver. Sauce Gardner is... Dude, he's almost a top 5 corner in the league already.
Right. It really.
You don't have to say it, because if you say it, people might come after you about it and be like, "Oh yeah, Jets bias." But like, I'll say it for you, dude. He's the way that this guy is moving, the confidence that he's playing with. Now, what I can't wait for is, and sorry, but this is going to happen, of course. I can't wait for him to hit a valley. right?
Sure.
He's given up a couple of catches. He has a couple of bad weeks in a row, because that's when you really see, okay, does this guy have a potential to play corner really well? Or is he just an overall really damn good corner? It is a cyclical position. You are at the mountaintop and then you are at the very bottom of the valley. And that's just how corner is played. I was talking with Mike Renner about this earlier today, and we were talking about what's the position in the NFL in which you see that the most. You can go from riding high to then absolutely you're like a nobody in 2 or 3 years, and shoot, even shorter than that, I feel like it could be corner. I remember Marshawn Lattimore had, I don't remember his rookie year or his sophomore year in the NFL, but Marshawn was like a top 3 corner in the league. And then all of a sudden that next year, immediately after, it was everybody was going after Marshawn. He was playing poorly. Now he's playing well again. And so that kind of shows you the resilience of how he is at corner. I can't wait to see that part of Sauce Gardner, because you're already seeing the highs. You already know he could compete at the highest level. Can he get back to that after he maybe has a couple of bad games in a row? That will show you what the Jets really have at cornerback in him, because right now the potential is totally there for him. I'll flip sides and I'll just say a couple of things about the Packers. They stink. And I don't say that to like take away from the Jets win at all whatsoever.
No. There's two sides to this.
But it's a season-long thing for the Packers defense now. Run defense is just unbelievably soft. I'm looking at a couple of different things here. Quay Walker is right now a complete liability in run defense.
Dude.
He has a 29.9 run defense grade per PFF. Rashawn Gary is the only player in the box with a run defense grade above 70. He's the only player, not just this week, whole season. They're giving up almost 5 yards a clip to teams that are rushing. Third worst defense in the NFL. That includes this week in EPA per play allowed on the ground. Worst EPA per play allowed on the ground when in 2 high defenses. So that's something that's bad too, because they cannot fortify what they need to up front when they are running too high. We talk about this all the time in this podcast. That's where things are going, right? You've got to live in a too high world if you want to be able to beat some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But the only way you get to do that is if you do your job up front. Packers ain't even doing their job up front. So it's tough right now, man. They're way too soft. They're giving up, and I almost hate using the word soft because it's kind of like a trigger word, but I'll just say they're giving up way too much on the ground right now. They've got to be way more stout in the ground game. That's where everything on their defensive outlook and changes needs to begin, because right now they are just simply letting teams move the ball on the ground and stacking L's because of it, unfortunately.
I mean, the second half of this game, the Jets go up 2 touchdowns after they return a blocked punt. It's 17-3. Rodgers answers on the next drive. Lazard scored on Brandon Echols, a backup Jets corner that was in. But I mean, whatever. It doesn't, like, they scored. They went down the field. Response drive by Green Bay. It's 17-10. The Jets just literally punched them and kicked them in the teeth the rest of the game. They said, we're gonna run at you, and you better have your big boy britches on, because it's gonna get real ugly in here. And man, this is harsh, man. Packers looked gutless from there on out.
Yeah.
Gutless. They didn't want to play that kind of football. I couldn't believe what I was seeing at Lambeau Field. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. And ultimately, they just dug themselves in such a hole because they couldn't. That was towards the end of the game. The Jets had like 45 running plays in a row because the Packers would just get a penalty on third down, and the clock just eventually basically ran out, and that was that.
That's tough, man. You know, Green Bay and Tampa, those are 2 teams in the NFC that people thought could be contenders, could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Neither of those teams anywhere close to being able to do that at an actual level.
A lot of time, but you're right. It's when you're getting close to Halloween, you got to start hitting the button of like, okay, we better figure this out.
Yeah, 100%. Can we talk about the other New York team?
Absolutely.
Dude, we got
the 5-1 New York Giants.
The 5-1 New York Giants. I'll defer to you first. What is your thing that mattered most that you saw from the Giants win against the Ravens? Of their entire schedule, Connor, I would just say first that I could have maybe seen it for a couple of these other teams that they've gotten wins for. I'd have told you ain't no way in hell they're beating the Ravens this weekend. I don't care if it was at home. I was like, there is no way they're beating the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. And here we are.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And good for Wink Martindale, obviously, in this game, calling the Giants defense. Long tenure there. Really impressive tenure there in Baltimore. I think what matters most to me with the Giants right now is that they can win with Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Like, do I think they even think Daniel Jones is their long-term future? I mean, not even like going back to the didn't pick up the fifth-year option, all those things. I think he does enough. This will eventually, in my eyes, become that like Jimmy G situation of, and that might even be too much considering how much Jimmy won, but like where they want more from the position.
Sure, right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly
I'm not a well-known, not a Daniel Jones guy. You have to give credit that he is doing enough in the structure that Daboll's been able to provide him with not much at wide receiver at all. Obviously, a very, very good resurgent Saquon Barkley. Jones is playing. Here's what I'm trying to say. Jones is playing efficient football for the first time in my eyes in his career, where not everything is.
Normally not that quarterback.
He's not that kind of guy. He's a high variance kind of guy.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Trust me.
He's just. You look at him and you're like, okay, you're playing smart football. Not everything's a gasp when you're, why did he throw that? Or why? Oh no, he's holding the ball too long. Here comes the strip sack. You have to give credit to Jones because he is doing enough for a Giants team that plays so freaking hard right now for this staff that they can keep winning games. I wasn't a believer of the first 3 wins. I was sitting there like, man, how are they doing this? Maybe the teams they're playing are bad. The way they've beaten Green Bay and now Baltimore, and Jones being efficient, not a star, but efficient with his dropbacks, it's just wildly impressive. And the NFC stinks, like you said, Trevor. The Giants are going to be a tough out right now. The Giants are going to be a tough out. They are a team that nobody can explain it, but nobody really wants to see them now.
I mean, I agree completely. And my one big takeaway is that the Giants are a good football team. They're not this fun, cute story anymore. They're not, they won a couple of games at the beginning of the season. This is an incredibly well-coached football team. Clearly, Brian Daboll has a great finger on the pulse of his roster, how to put guys in great positions. The coordinators for the Giants are very in sync with their players, their strengths, who they have available to them every Sunday, who they don't, what plays to call, when to dial things up, and the game plans that are going to get them victories every single week. And that starts with putting their guys in the best position and then also taking a good look at what some weaknesses might be of the other team. And that is kind of my bigger or more detailed one big thing, or one thing that matters most, is that the Giants, no matter what, are going to be who they are. They are not forgetting their identity. I think a lot of times in this chess match of NFL teams and chess match of coaching staffs, sometimes coaches get a little ahead of their skis when they look at the team that they're going up against and saying, okay, well, this team doesn't do very well against this. Okay, so like, let's focus on this. Let's start calling this. Like, let's go into the weekly game plan and focus on these things. But sometimes they might have a tendency to, okay, well, do your players do that well? Because if they don't, then they're not going to be able to execute it. The communication's not going to be where it's going to need to be. The P's and Q's won't be there. Giants are who they are. Giants are who they are every single week, and they're playing to their strengths, and I think that you're seeing it. Dude, what's most impressive about what the Giants are doing is they went into this week with the least amount of explosive passing plays in the NFL. The least amount of explosive passing plays. Dude, that's why
it was so hard to buy in.
5-1. Their turnover differential is simply +2. It's not like they have this crazy turnover luck that is going their way. They just play, and this is so cliche and so coach speak, but they're playing Giants football the way that they are set up to with their strengths. And it's coming out, and it's beating some of these teams that are still trying to figure out their identity at this point in the year. So if you falter at all, if you get away from maybe the things you do well, because look, I said going into this week, that the Ravens are going to beat the Giants. I wasn't having any reservation about it because I looked at what could be for that Ravens team. Okay, they're blocking well up front. Obviously, Lamar Jackson has already played well this year. They've got Mark Andrews they can lean on. The receivers are playing well when they're out there and healthy and at full strength. I know they weren't at full strength without Rashad Bateman, but you know what I mean. There's so many things with Baltimore where you go, okay, this is what they could be. This is what they could be every single week, but it's still a little bit of a gamble for a lot of teams this season for certain, I'll say offenses specifically, to play up to what they are supposed to. Tom Brady said it a couple weeks ago when he got up to the podium. He's like, I see a lot of bad football around the NFL right now. And I think what he really meant is you're seeing a lot of teams and you go, okay, this is how good the Ravens could be, or this is how good the Packers could be, or the Buccaneers could be, or whoever it is. And you're just not seeing that team. With the Giants, you go, this is what the Giants could be. And it feels like every week, they are that team. And so if you aren't bringing your best game, whatever it is, they're going to bring theirs. And clearly, they're probably going to beat you. So hats off to Brian Daboll, man. That's my thing that matters most.
Man, you just got to give it to them. They've been... considering expectations, they have to be the most impressive team in football when you factor in the variance, the spectrum between expectations compared to what they're doing. It's funny, like them and the Jets, both New York teams who have been so bad for so long lately, are the ones that are punching the most above their weight class. And we're kind of at the point where it's like, okay, they keep doing it. Is this who they are and who they're going to be? We'll see. Why would you pick against them at this point?
I wouldn't. No.
So
I'm trying to have fun. I don't want to pick
It's a
against
blast.
them. Yeah, it's too fun. It's too fun watching them.
It's a blast.
I'd also shout out the Seahawks there. Because Seahawks are in the...
Want to go there quick then? Transition?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do that.
So, Seattle beats Arizona 19-9. I'm going to be totally honest with you, and not to be I knew this, because I had plenty of picks wrong this week. When I saw Seattle was field goal underdogs in this game, when the lines opened this week, I was like, what the hell is the book watching with this one? Arizona's cheeks.
Vegas will not quit the Cardinals.
They will not quit the Cardinals.
I don't know why.
And it's also disrespect toward, like, what more do you want from Seattle? Seattle's not this, like, team that everybody's just going to run over. They're 3-3 right now, and they're tough out all the time. I don't want to. I feel like this is our unified one. We love what we saw from Kenneth Walker today. This is one that we saw. We talked about before we did the show.
Yeah.
This is a team under Pete Carroll that no matter what Geno Smith does, they always want the run to be their identity, which can help their pass game. Mm-hmm. I mean, Trevor, obviously, it's so vital that Kenneth Walker is the guy they thought they were getting when they drafted him, and that's exactly how this looks.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. And how good did Rashad Penny look before he got hurt, right? I mean, whatever they got going on there, for as much as we've made fun of, and when I say we, I don't just mean me and you, I feel like everybody collectively have kind of poked fun at the Seahawks and their draft strategies with some of these running backs over the last couple of years, right? Yeah. Rashad Penny was a first rounder, right? And they would go back to Kenneth Walker in the early parts of the draft at the beginning of day 2 this year. And so you just go, man, what are the Seahawks doing? And Rashad Penny looked fantastic before he went out. Kenneth Walker comes in relief of him, takes that starting job when he goes down with injury. Kenneth Walker looks incredible. Dude, did you see that fake stiff arm he put on Byron Murphy today? Whoa.
Sick.
Filthy. Kenneth Walker is playing with so much confidence. You go all the way back to the way he was playing last year at Michigan State, won the Doak Walker Award because he just believed he was the baddest dude on the field every time he touched the ball. And I think that you still see that in the NFL, which is great to see as a rookie. Sometimes that fades. Sometimes I'm in the pros now. I can't do the same stuff. And Kenneth Walker's like, nah, I'm doing the same stuff, or at least I'm going to go for it. And he's really been able to play very well with him starting just the last couple of games here. I'm going to give a shout out to Tariq Woolen as well.
Great call.
How good is Tariq Woolen, man? I know we talked about him on the podcast last Thursday when we were doing our all rookie team. We gave him a shout out as an honorable mention guy that we wanted to just get on the list and give some praise to. But another interception today. And like I said last week, these interceptions are impressive. They're not luck interceptions. They're not just like, oh yeah, cool, put it in the stat sheet. But he didn't really do anything. The ball kind of bounced to him. He's making a lot of these interceptions happen. So big shout out to Tariq Woolen. Shout out to everybody who had Seattle on the money line this week. I said on the It's Just Football show that was my lock of the week on Tuesday. I was like, I was right there with you, Connor. I was like, how is Arizona favored? They are the road team. They are bad. They are not well coached. There are holes on the roster. They're going up against one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL to this point. What am I missing? And it turns out I wasn't missing anything. Go Hawks.
I mean, every time I watch Arizona, I just sit there and go, it is truly like watching a young kid play Madden with Vic in 04 and just run around and do things. That's the offense with Kyler Murray. Run around and do things.
They get Hopkins back next week. He's back from suspension. Too late. So, and don't get me wrong. I think it is too late. I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are a playoff contender, but I am intrigued to see how much the offense changes with.
Try to get him in rhythm because this is your guy, Kyler Murray. So you got to get him in rhythm. All right, Trevor, where do you want to go after this game?
Ooh, what game do I want to do next? Bengals Saints.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, that's probably the next one. What do you got on this one?
For me, maybe a little too simple, but the Bengals' identity is Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase dominating. That is what got the Bengals to a very special place last year. I love T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd had a very efficient possession game, but they were trying all year, Trevor, to be this. Joe Mixon gets the ball 25 times or whatever it is, and he could average 2 yards a carry. We don't care. Like we are going to keep doing this. And I once again, this is a pro running back pod. This is a pro run game pod. This is a pro use the run game to open up the pass game pod. Sometimes you just got to be yourself. And to me, the Bengals are a drop back team with Burrow, just lighting teams up to Chase. And if you can stop it, let's see it. And today, the Saints could not stop it. Obviously, playing with Andy Dalton, they were always going to be in a tough place to begin with, getting into a shootout kind of game with the Bengals, and the Saints obviously did make this a tough game, hung around, and played a really close game. But the Bengals finally accepting that identity, which is a coaching thing, not a player thing, is how they're going to get back on track to being one of the key competitors in the AFC.
Yeah, just Burrow. The confidence of Burrow is wild, man. I get that he was back in Louisiana. They were all feeling very comfortable.
Yeah, that walk-in. You see the walk-in with the jersey?
With Chase's jersey. I mean, that's as good as it gets. And Burrow played completely confidently today. He's the reason that they won. I love the steady diet of going to Jamar Chase, but also going to T. Higgins. I agree with you that Chase is clearly the guy who could break it loose for you, but Higgins has had a fantastic year as well. Yeah. Both of those guys got 10 targets, and I do feel like maybe not an even split, but a close to dominant split is how you want things. I think in a perfect world, Cincinnati is getting both of those players double-digit targets because that means that you're probably appropriately prioritizing how much you pass versus how much you run, because the Bengals to start this season were one of the teams that ran the ball the most with the least efficiency, the lowest return on investment from it. So hopefully you learned a little bit from that and you go, okay, well, clearly the ball is a little bit better when it's in Burrow's hands. So I really do. I think the recipe for the Cincinnati Bengals is double-digit targets for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, both of them, every single game. That's what I think the game plan should be going into it, and you can adjust from there as kind of the game script goes on. Hard to have too many expectations here with the New Orleans Saints. No Jameis, no Michael Thomas, no Chris Olave. So it's hard to have too many expectations for them to win. You know, as I was watching that game, man, I didn't think the Bengals were going to do it. And I didn't think the Bengals were going to do it because I felt like the Superdome. Wait, is it called the Superdome still? Or is it, it's like the Caesars...
It's got a sponsorship name, but you go off.
Okay, so I just felt like that arena was just rocking. And every time I watch a New Orleans Saints game in New Orleans, it just feels like the energy plays a part in the game, almost like it does in a college football game. And you don't get a lot of that in the NFL. And so now, this isn't my thing that matters most, because the thing that matters most is the Bengals game script and their game plan and their passing game plan, especially going into it. But the defensive numbers overall didn't look great. Obviously, you give up 30 points to Burrow. But I just still feel as though with New Orleans still tight in the divisional race, if you get guys back healthy, if you get into the swing of things, if you can maybe somehow win the division and get a home playoff game, like maybe that is something where you could win a game in January, because I do feel like that place does have an effect on how that team plays defense. And like execution-wise, didn't help Tyrann Mathieu blowing the tackle on Jamar Chase, but it helps, I think, in a lot of other reasons, and they definitely feed off of that. So tough to expect too much from New Orleans today with all the injuries, but that did stand out to me as the presence of home field for the Saints still, even in a loss.
All right, let's stay with that division then. You said the Bengals, if they can win that division, they are tied with Baltimore at the top, each 3-3. But we'll go to Cleveland, who, my goodness, I mean, Bailey Zappi right now, your quarterback, all rookie team quarterback.
Feels good, baby. Feels good.
It's not even close right now.
Yeah. Pickett went out with a concussion. He's still got hurt. Yeah.
And I know, I get it, that a lot of what Zappi's doing is like short and intermediate, well-schemed throws. Credit to Matt Patricia. Well-schemed throws. But boy, the Browns, this defense, Trevor, I don't think it really matters where they are when Deshaun Watson comes back. Outside of, if Myles Garrett isn't a hero, and he was in this game, it's not like Myles Garrett was contained in this game. It just feels like Myles Garrett had 2 sacks and I believe a forced fumble, a strip sack on one of them. The Browns defense is just an absolute mess from top to bottom. And to me, that starts with the staff.
Yeah.
And I think they have to have a serious conversation soon about, listen, we are building something this year that's supposed to be a launching point for when the quarterback we gave all this money to is back for a full season next year. Mm-hmm. So continuity is a key thing here. Is this the continuity on defense you want long term? I don't see how you could sell anyone that. And we'll get to the Patriots in a second, but I was alarmed by what I saw with the Browns defense today.
Yeah, my thing that matters most is, look, I didn't really expect anything from the Patriots this year as much as I gave props to Bailey Zappi. I still think that it's a low ceiling offense that they have going on there. I think the defense is kind of up and down. So I didn't really envision New England as a potential playoff team. I thought that if the Browns could have held on, then maybe when you get Deshaun back, you can go on a run, you could be a playoff team. So I thought that of these two franchises, the Browns were the ones that had playoff aspirations this year. But dude, they're in the same position as the Packers. They can't stop anybody, especially on the run. Third worst overall defensive EPA per play allowed this season. With that defense, come on. 38 points and over 300 passing yards to the Pats at home. This is in Cleveland. I mean, Joe Woods is the defensive coordinator, and Joe Woods he's been in the NFL a long time. I'm looking at his resume here.
Yeah.
He was with the Buccaneers coaching some of their defensive backs right after he came off the Super Bowl. So, Rondé Barber, Brian Kelly, Jermaine Phillips, Dwight Smith, all those guys. Was with the Oakland Raiders, Denver Broncos. He was under Wade Phillips for a little bit as the defensive backs coach and then the defensive coordinator. He's with the 49ers in 2019, and then he's been with the Browns since 2020 as their defensive coordinator. But, man, when I was watching, because I didn't get to catch this whole game, so I was watching this one on Red Zone, but it just feels like when I watch this Cleveland Browns defense, it feels like me watching Washington's defense over the last couple of years, where I go, there's talent on this side of the ball, and they're just not living up to it.
Yeah, why is this happening?
They are
question.
Right. Yes. They are very disappointing. They are not the team that we predicted them to be on the defensive side of the ball. And when you are as bad against the run as the Browns are, that to me is alarming, because your identity on the other side of the football is running, right? Like, that's how they built their team. They built their team as this smash mouth running team. How is the other side of the ball? How does that not carry that identity? Usually it does. And that's kind of alarming for me, just as an outsider, is clearly such a, I don't want to say philosophical difference, but execution, mentality difference, whatever it is on the defensive side of the ball for Cleveland, because they can't get it done right now. They cannot get it done.
I'll give an honorable mention shout out to the Patriots rookie class, which obviously was killed. And I know specifically I did not like the Tyquan Thornton pick, and he had 2 touchdowns. He had 1 touchdown today. He had 2 counting the rushing one. I forgot about the rushing one. But more importantly than Thornton, I think Cole Strange just played pretty well, but more importantly than that, Jack Jones continues to play at an extremely high level for them. Really high level. And that
King.
And of course, Zappe. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due. So that's my honorable mention, that the New England rookie class, the early returns are very good so far and could be promising for them trying to enter a new era that will be very interesting to watch with Zappe in the fold now.
All right, before we go rapid fire on some of these other games, get you guys out of here. Want to talk to you about our friends over at No House Advantage. They are changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy platform available today. You play in pickup contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250,000 in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, and earn points for correct picks. Climb up that leaderboard and get your shot to win big money every single day. You can also test your skills versus the house and 20 times your entry if you hit all of your picks. You can bet up to 5 player props or over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sporting league, including NHL, NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, even NASCAR. Sign up now with the promo code STOCK at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app on the App Store and get your first deposit match up to $25. Make sure you check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy redefined, because it's not just about where you play, but how you play. And you guys won't want to miss out on this season. Where are we going next? What's the next game you want to hit on, Connor?
Dolphins, Vikings?
Sure. My
quicker one.
I mean, my takeaway on this game is, hey, quietly, Vikings are sitting here at 5-1.
The quietest 5-1 in the NFL.
Right. We're talking about the Packers. Oh, you know what a disappointment the Packers are. What are the Packers going to do? Can they win the division? Vikings whoop their ass game 1, right?
Yep.
And now they are firmly in the driver's seat, sitting there at 5-1. I have the power rankings up here. What's the Vikings? Vikings have the 23rd easiest, or I guess I should say 23rd most difficult schedule. So they have one of the easier schedules in the NFL moving forward. Dolphins is tough to say too much on. They didn't have Tua. They clearly need Tua. Skylar Thompson started this game. He goes out with a thumb injury. Teddy Bridgewater comes in. And they kind of make it a game there at the end before Jalen Waddle fumbled it and kind of ended that. But it's just, I mean, it's hard to judge the Dolphins because if Tua's in this game, it's probably completely different. So tough to judge anything from the Dolphins side of things, even with it being a disappointing loss at home. But what are you going to do when you're not only your starting quarterback isn't starting the game, but then the guy you used to start at quarterback also leaves the game. So it was a mess for them. So I'd rather just give a hats off to the Minnesota Vikings and what they're doing sitting there at 5-1.
Yeah, a team taking care of business with the first-year head coach and Kevin O'Connell. They're kind of oddly somebody that nobody talks about, because I think everybody was waiting for the Green Bay turning point. And I'm not saying it's not going to come. They're 3-3. It's not like their season's in the toilet. But they just lost to the Giants and the Jets. And now Minnesota has quietly been taking care of business, and they're 5-1. So I think they deserve a little bit more attention. At what point? Not at what point, because if you're not doing it, you're insane. You have to take them extremely seriously, even if they're playing kind of boring, efficient football in the mold they won today, where Cousins wasn't airing it out. He was just obviously had the rapport working with Justin Jefferson, as he always does. Dalvin Cook gets his touches and runs for 80 yards in his sleep with a touchdown. And I don't think the Dolphins' run defense has been very good. But, yeah, when it comes down to it, the Dolphins will be evaluated when Tua is back, because they looked so good with him early in the year.
Damn. They went off in pass rush today. Hold on, I'm pulling up PFF Ultimate.
It's stuff. 6 sacks.
Yeah, Patrick Jones had 2. Zadarius Smith had 2. Daniil Hunter had a sack.
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith had 11 total pressure. That's
bananas.
That is big time. 4 pressures for Jones, 6 pressures for Hunter.
So that's where the conversation transitions, because this is a problem, Tua or no Tua. The Dolphins can't pass protect. I mean, you watch the second half of the game against the Jets.
Yeah, let me go look at
Skylar Thompson got demolished. The Teddy injury in the beginning of the game was a corner blitz, so that doesn't count for the line. But if this team can't, and Teron Armstead was inactive today, Trevor, which is becoming an injury issue again. That's my question with the Dolphins, Tua or no Tua. Can they even keep Tua healthy when he comes back?
Greg Little has an initial passing grade of 0.
I've never seen that before.
He gave up 10 pressures, 4 sacks.
How many snaps did he have?
72. He started the whole game at left tackle.
That's insane.
He had an overall offensive grade of 22. Yo. This is going to be...
What do you get a 22 for? Like, what did he do to
run blocking, he was in the 60s.
Okay.
Run blocking, he was in the 60s, obviously.
What did he do?
But yeah, Connor... Oh, man.
All right.
Dude, Liam Eichenberg gave up 3 pressures. Brandon Shell gave up 3 pressures. Hunt gave up 2. Williams gave up 1.
They can't lose Teron Armstead for any longer.
Dude, what?
He has a lingering toe injury.
I've never seen this. A 0. Dude, that's very
pretty rare territory.
Pressures. Yeah, it's tough. That is tough. All right, what's the next game? What do you want to hit next?
San Francisco, Atlanta. Kind of oddly in a similar mold, right? Because San Francisco was so beat up in this game, but
let me tell you just how beat up they were.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think I favored it this week. All right, you ready for it?
Please. It's pretty nuts.
49ers injuries. And obviously, like, some of these are season-ending injuries, but these are players that would have been contributors, okay? Trey Lance, Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Kroft, Jordan Matthews, Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz, Mike McGlinchey. And on defense, Nick Bosa, Sam Ibukam, Jordan Willis, Javon Kinlaw, Arik Armstead, Maurice Hurst, Azeed Al-Shir, Demetrius Flanagan, Emmanuel Mosley, Charvarius Ward, Jason Barrett, Jimmy Ward. Those are all players who probably would have been contributing or starting for the 49ers in this game that were either hurt and out going into this week or just out for the year or in short term. That's a damn good lineup if it was fully healthy.
It's wild. Truly wild.
Who's winning with that? That's probably the big takeaway. Who's winning with that?
Dude. That's such a long, it's a pretty insurmountable list. As I'm looking at this game, the thing that stands out to me as we've done all these games, Trevor, and I'm sure I'm going to miss one here. Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Zach Wilson, Marcus Mariota, and there's probably another one somewhere on this slate. All threw for under 200 yards and won Sunday. Like, pretty decisively, right? All of them? Like, the Jets beat up on the Packers pretty good. The Vikings took care of business against the Dolphins. The Falcons really took care of business. They shut out the Niners in the second half of this game.
This is so funny.
Oh, and I knew I missed one. I knew it. Geno threw for under 200 yards, and the Seahawks won.
Wow.
This is pretty weird territory that a lot of the winners threw for under 200 yards, which is just not seen in today's NFL.
That is very strange. On the flip side, I do want to give the Falcons some credit. Obviously,
you have to.
28-14. One, Arthur Smith in the locker room afterwards, just slamming Bud Lights with the team. Love that. Well, don't love the beer choice, but love the but come on. You know, it's just, I mean, they're just. I think it's like the official beer of the NFL. Yeah, right. They can't sneak anything else in there. Falcons touchdown drives today. 11 plays, 9 plays. This is an offense that is going to be methodical at best, right? They're going to operate best when they can lean on the ground game. Had 2 players with 16 carries today. Huntley led the team. Actually, Huntley led the team with 16 carries. Algier had 15. But then what matters most for the Falcons is not just the fact that Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown, which, thank God, let's keep that moving. Marcus Mariota and the weapon that he is with his legs. Last 2 weeks, he's had 37 rushing yards, and then this week he had 50 and a rushing touchdown. I like this offense when they allow him to be a ball carrier. Agreed. You don't want to get him hurt, but for as much as you are leaning on your running game, allow one of your best running assets to be there for you and be a plus in the offense. Didn't have Cordell Patterson again today. And it seemed like they were willing to allocate some more of those carries and more of those opportunities to Marcus Mariota. And I like the game plan when he's getting involved, even if it's not design touches, just telling him like, hey man, you can take off. Like, feel free to take off. We trust your eyes. We trust when you think that the best decision is to tuck it and run. So this Falcons team is going to be a ground and pound team this year. That's just what they're going to do. At their best, they're going to have double-digit play drives, 10, 12, 13, 14 play drives, whatever it is. And they're going to be a team that marches down the field. You're going to do that by utilizing all of your ground game assets. And I think Marcus Mariota is one of them. So keep that into the game plan moving forward. And I think good things could be happening for the Falcons.
Absolutely. You have to if you're Atlanta. And that's something that Arthur Smith can, go into the offseason, no matter how their season finishes, and go, I've built an infrastructure here that is quarterback friendly. There's going to be a time where we're going to play one of the young pups, whether it's Ritter or they draft another one. And knowing that's the situation they're walking into makes you feel really good about their development. But it's good to see Marcus Mariota, like you said, Trevor, using the mobility to kind of enhance what they're doing on the ground game as well. What do we have left? Oh,
I think we got two more.
Jacksonville Colts.
Two more we can hit real quick. Yeah, and then
we'll finish with the best game of the week.
Oh, Lord. Why did we do this? How did we do this?
I didn't mean for that to happen.
People are going to turn off the pod. Okay, so...
Don't turn off the pod. There's a surprise at the end.
Yeah, there you go. Save it for him. That's good. I don't know what the surprise is. You probably don't either, but that's why it's a surprise. So the Colts end up winning this game. It's in Indianapolis, 34-27 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was low key fun.
Yeah.
Like this game was fun. Trevor Lawrence had a couple of really nice drives in this game. Travis Etienne had a really big presence in this game. JaMychal Hasty had a 61-yard touchdown run. Like, I felt like the Jags were making good plays on defense. I know people are going to yell at me about Chad Griffin's performance, but I thought that there were plays to be made on the defensive side of the football. And then on the other side of things for the Colts, they were flying around at home. They were playing with a ton of energy. Still don't have Jonathan Taylor. Didn't get a lot from the ground game. And so, you know what? They went to old reliable. And when I say old reliable, emphasize the old. Matt Ryan, 389 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 58 passing attempts.
That's the best part.
What year is this?
Dude.
What year is this?
58. That means both Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco have had games this year of 58 passing attempts. In 2022.
It's a beaut.
It's
what's your thing that mattered most? What's your takeaway from this game?
My thing that matters most is
was that it? That they're gonna have to ice Matt Ryan's arm.
He needs Tommy John, and he's done for a year and a half. So sorry, Matt Ryan. No, the thing that matters most is that the Colts season is officially back on track. Jacksonville was surging there for a bit, and now they're 2-4, and the Colts are 3-2-1, and this is a huge win for the Colts. Not that's like not big brain theory or anything, but the fact that they can win with Matt Ryan efficiently and effectively throwing the football to not only Michael Pittman, but Alec Pierce getting going in the last 3 weeks is really, really important. That when they get Jonathan Taylor back, now that they have 2 wide receivers that are effective in this offense, and even Paris Campbell, 757 and a touchdown is big. I think I'm not saying the Colts are going to be who we all expected them to be, winning 11 or 12 games or whatever it is, but their season absolutely matters, and it was scary hours there for a little bit with them.
I mean, it might still be scary hours, but I mean, we can have some faith. I'm looking at the score here because I want to remember where they were in the game. Okay, they were down 7-3, 14-3. About 14-13, 21-13. No, okay. They're fighting back a lot of it. They did not get a lead in this game until 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
This was I feel like nobody cared about this game, but it mattered a lot today.
Wow. No, less than they didn't take the lead until the very end. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up to look at what the scores were is that Matt Ryan's numbers, though they were numerous in the common stats, if you will, they were very different. This is a different script from what we have seen from the Colts, and it was how they attacked through the air. They knew they couldn't lean on the ground game as much with Jonathan Taylor not there. Even when Jonathan Taylor's been in there at different points in the year,
They haven't looked right.
The offensive line has not been able to block for him. It has not been that kind of a team. So instead, they were really trying to get the ball out of Matt Ryan's hands early, and it clearly worked for them. They were able to move the ball pretty well against this Jags defense. Ryan had an average depth of target of 4.5 yards today against the Jags. His season average before this was 7.6, significantly lower, almost half of what he was averaging going into this game. His average time to throw as well, 2.48 this game. It's 2.71 in the weeks up to this game. So again, getting the ball out of his hand very quickly, attacking the short game a lot better, relying on the playmakers to get the ball in their hands quickly and make things happen after the catch, as opposed to asking Matt Ryan to go for all of these air yards throughout the game. I should have looked that up. I can do that in 2 seconds if you have anything else to say about this game. But that's the thing that mattered most to me, is you saying that the Colts season is back on track. And I think that there's reason to believe that. And one of the reasons might be this new offensive approach that it seems like they put into motion this game with how they use Matt Ryan.
While you look that up, it's good to see Travis Etienne involved, explosive, had the 48-yard run in this game. I would like to see the targets go up. 2 targets is not really how I would envision his usage in this offense, but at the end of the day, that's something that Jacksonville needs to move over into as they try to find more explosive plays.
Okay, so he had 46.3 air yards today. That's talking about how many yards he passed for that were in the air as opposed to after the catch. And then before this, it was high. It was almost 10% higher. It was 55.8. So there we go. A little different strat here. Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Revitalized the career.
New Matt Ryan.
Well, all right, last game.
Now we're done. See everybody tomorrow for Stopwatch.
You better have a surprise. Like, you better tell us where Robbie Anderson's getting traded to after he got.
Oh man, I'm still working on the surprise. It's like a Cracker Jack box right now. Man.
Rams 24-10. I'm in a survivor pool with somebody else, and it's just me and one other guy.
Unreal.
And I picked the Rams this week, so
good for you.
It was sweating hard when Carolina kicked the field goal, and then Matt Stafford threw the pick 6, and it was like 10-3. I was like, good God, can we not do this, please?
I think it was 10-0.
My family.
Yeah, scary. But it all worked out for you in a, I mean, my God.
Come on, man.
Dude. What, like, all right.
Carolina's going to be picking number 1 overall in the draft, right?
Which is good for them. We said that
it is really good
on the rebuilding show for them.
That's what matters most.
Yes.
Carolina's going to be picking number 1 overall.
Stink. Trade pieces that you should trade.
Yeah, did you see the Christian McCaffrey stuff this morning?
Yeah, multiple first rounders.
Yeah, maybe if if Carolina's trading a first round pick and Christian McCaffrey to get rid of his contract, I don't think Carolina realizes this, if that's actually what their ask is, because his contract goes up to, his cap number goes from $8 million this year to 19 next year, and then 19 the year after that, and then 15 on the final year of the contract.
It's a bad deal.
They have to. Can they? Oh, they can cut him.
Oh, there is an out. Maybe I retract that statement.
They can cut him. How does this work? There's 2023 is a weird year of this contract, because if they cut him in 2023, they save. Oh no, never mind. I was reading it wrong. They save $1 million next year if they can cut him, and then it goes up to 8, and then it goes up to 12. I was reading it wrong. So it's not as strange as I thought it once was. They can get out of the contract, but if you don't trade him or cut him, he's gonna be on the books for $19 million next year.
Yeah, which for a totally rebuilding team, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even care if you have a rookie quarterback there starting and you go, oh, you want help for him. McCaffrey will be 27 next season. He's dealt with a ton of injuries. He's due a ton of money. It's just he's a great player. Although you're right, there's a lot of problems of what is his value on the trade market.
Not for a running back that's going to cost you 19 mil. Because I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but we already said what matters most, and that's the Carolinas getting the number one overall pick.
My Rams, what matters most is Allen Robinson had a pulse today, and they need to get him going to really get back, to what they expect it to be. So that's a good sign for the Rams.
You know what? That is a good thing to happen. He looks super confident today. He looks very confident.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they went into this week saying like we have to have him involved.
Average per year against the cap is already McCaffrey at number 1. So you're telling me that you're trying to get some team to trade you a first-round pick?
No way.
For the most expensive running back in the NFL?
With a significant injury problem. There's no way. No way. It's not happening. That's the surprise. Christian McCaffrey shouldn't be traded because teams won't offer that kind of capital.
Can't wait to see him on the Bills.
Oh, baby.
If the Bills would have lost to the Chiefs, they might have done it.
Rage trade?
They might have done it. They'd have been like, all right, screw it. When we meet you in January, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
I mean, they already rage signed Von Miller and it worked. So I love Rage Mode Bean. He's just like, yeah.
Empty the tank. Don't draft one time this upcoming April. Don't draft. Just trade it. Just trade all the picks.
Unreal, man.
Fire up the Bryce Young edits, Chris or Carolina Panthers fans.
Man, you know what? This is a good time to kind of tease the stock. I think this will be
the nugget. Is this the nugget? Is this a surprise?
Yeah, I mean, sure. The surprise is that Stock Watch is going to be the best one yet this week because this Saturday at college football was freaking awesome, and it was freaking awesome for draft implications as well. And it matters at the top of the draft as well. So, surprise, you want to listen to the Stock Watch show this week.
Wow, the tease to listen at the end was simply to hear an even better tease to tune in tomorrow. That's a salesman, folks. That's a good co-host, and that's why you should tune in to not tomorrow. We got it coming out on Wednesday, but the Stock Watch episode. Connor is right. It was an incredible weekend of college football that we saw this past Saturday. A lot of really big time performances from guys that are draft eligible that we're going to bring to the table. And you know what, Connor, I'll co-sign it. This is going to be the best Stock Watch that we have had on this podcast yet. I'm saying it. I agree.
There it is, dude. I mean, come on. We're ready to go. Fun show, fun week in the NFL. Obviously, some mega matchups, some teams kind of leaning more towards entering the draft world. Probably when we get out of Halloween, those teams will be a little bit more carved out. But, dude, another good one in the books. I'm ready to roll for the rest of the week.
When's the Halloween show? Are we going to dress up for the?
Oh, we have to
for the video pod. Oh, Halloween's on Monday.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. All right.
It's literally perfect.
Okay. We're gonna dress.
So we'll be dressing up when we do this show. What matters most?
Yes. Right. In 2 weeks.
I love it.
In 2 weeks.
Imagine if we didn't. We dressed up when we record on Monday, and it's the day after Halloween, and we're idiots in costume.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I'm glad we figured this out now. Bingo point is always trying to figure out what's upcoming on the pods.
You got it. If you were one space away and you were wondering if Trevor and Connor were going to figure out the pod while on the pod, you can cross that list off and you can get a bingo for this
I also
episode.
talked while you were looking something up.
Oh,
bingo space is just 8 things that matter most for Bills Chiefs.
It's a guaranteed dub. The bingo card's a guaranteed dub because we are who we are. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. This is one of our favorite shows, but as Connor said, the Stock Watch on Wednesday. It's going to be even better. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.